protect us from the internal and external forces that could destroy us. They are truly the ties that bind us together. It's only through understanding and application that they work.
So I know we're all recovering at our own pace, but there is a car that's still running outside. And so it is a Camry. You can slowly walk out. But the license plate is S as in Sam, D as in dog, T as in Tom, 8883. It's a Camry, so it's across the way in a parking lot still running. I laugh because if it was a Bronco, it would have been me. But yeah, so go get your car. And then ask a friend to read just for today.
Hi family, I'm Teresa, I'm an addict. Just for the day, just for today, tell yourself, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living, enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone at NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So as long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear.
All right, I've asked a friend to read We Do Recover.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a grateful recovering addict named Lawrence. We do recover when at the end of the road we find that we can no longer function as human beings. Either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative, either going as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Thank you guys for everyone who read and the chair of the BOD, I guess that's the title, the BOD boss lady, is going to introduce our speaker this afternoon. It's Medina.
Hey, everybody. Medina, and I'm an addict. This is one of the ladies that have become a hero in my life. She has definitely showed me things about myself that I didn't even know exist. Because it's not just about what works on the outside, but what's going on the inside, okay? And she is the epitome of what I aspired to embody in one person, you know, and I had to wait a long time to meet it, you know, because we never know where God's gonna show up and how God's gonna show out. And so the thing that happened was I was minding my business. And what happened was I heard a voice. And I was like, is Maya Angelou here? You know, and then it's like, no, Maya Angelou's not here. You know, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm tripping. So then she comes toward me, right? And she's like, hey, G baby. And I was like, ooh, I get to be a part of her life. Ooh, you know, and I know a lot of people don't understand that. If you're new in recovery, sit up front, come up, it's okay. We won't bite, okay? And those of you that have some time, come on, sit on up, okay? And those of you who have time, you right where you're supposed to be, but listen real good. Because see, Narcotics Anonymous is still thriving. And there are women within this fellowship that are on the month, that are doing the damn thing. And you know what? It don't have to be public relations. It don't have to be on a billboard. It's our walk, it's our talk, it's our spirit. And with that, I'll let you hear from Miss Cencilia P.
Good afternoon, family. My name is Cencilia P. I'm a grateful recovering addict. And if you take a moment of silence and invite your higher power in, and allow me to take a moment of silence and invite mine in, my hope and prayer is that someone here will get help today besides just me. It's a good day to be clean. That's right. It's a good day to be clean. Y'all as happy as I'm happy to be clean. I'm happy to be clean. By the grace of God and the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, I have not found it necessary to pick up any mood or mind-altering chemical. It's a disclaimer. For 27 years, 11 months, and 10 days. First, like to thank GRCNA and congratulate you on your 42nd year of carrying the message. I'm honored to be asked to share my experience, strength, and hope with you. This is an honor. This is not a popularity contest. This is a matter of life and death. And for this addict, still, right? We all have our niche in Narcotics Anonymous. Are there any newcomers here with less than 60 days clean? Look around. That's why we're here. We're here to carry a life-saving message, a message of hope, a promise of freedom. It's that an addict, any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And if you don't mind, I just want us to take a real quick minute and sing happy birthday to Tiffany. 1, a 2, a 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. They celebrate each other in Narcotics Anonymous. And I ask you to help me sing it because y'all made me sound like Whitney Houston. If I sung it by myself, y'all be like, she should have stayed in Dallas. It's a good day to be clean, man. So the message is hope. The promise is freedom. It's that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. You know, I got clean on March the 5th of 1996 in a place called Whittier, California. My people of color called it Whittier, California. And where I got clean, it looked pretty similar to this, but there were more of my fellow recovering addicts of a fairer shade and a whole lot less of me. As a matter of fact, my son, who is now 27, and on March the 9th, God says the same, he's going to celebrate 9 months. And when he was born in the recovery home that I was in, and he hadn't seen another Black person besides me for the first 6 months of his life. And I remember the first time he saw another Black person, there was a little boy running around a meeting. And his mother had to be Caucasian because there wasn't another Black person there besides me. And my son looked at the little boy and he looked at me and he looked at the little boy again and he looked at me. And I said, well, baby, don't be confused. You're Black too. And my son still has an identity crisis going on. He's still not comfortable hanging with the people of his own color, but that's his journey and that's his story to tell. So I got clean on March the 5th of 96 after promising myself to get clean the next month. I was pregnant during hitting rock bottom. And I don't know how many ladies here got clean or used during your pregnancy, but it's a different type of torment. It's a different brand of torture because I remember seeing women that were pregnant and using or drug addicts, and I used to think, man, she is the scum of the earth. How can she use drugs with a baby inside of her? That baby doesn't even have a choice. And then one day I looked up and it was me. And that's the way God has always served me up. Whenever I find myself in a place of judgment or a place of self-righteousness, God always serves me what I'm judgmental about. So I try my best when I see somebody doing something other than practicing my morals and values, I try to keep my opinion to myself. As a matter of fact, I try to ask God to remove any judgment I have, even the internal judgments, right? And to allow that other person to be who they are and to have their journey. So, when I got clean, like I told you, it was in Whittier, California, and in the rehab, they had these little Caucasian ladies that came in almost every day with their little AA books, and they'd have their stories about, hiding their bottles and all that. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I had to say I was going to get treatment. So I was an alcoholic for the first year of my life. In the back of my head, I was like, I really don't fit in with y'all. But just being in the atmosphere of recovery allowed me to benefit. I needed to be locked away. That's how I felt. The addict that walks in the room and stays clean and gets clean and stay clean, my hat is off to you. The literature suggests that we do that. We get with life and get with it right away. You don't have to go to treatment to get clean, but this addict did. Or so I thought I did, and it worked, and I'm grateful for it. So the first lady that I asked to sponsor me, she was the most well-groomed Caucasian woman I had ever seen. I mean, that lady would be laid. She had diamond rings on her fingers. She had diamond earrings. She had diamond around her neck. She drove a Cadillac. She said she lived in a beautiful home and she had a maid. And I wanted what she had. So I asked her to sponsor me. And I don't know how many of you, the sponsorship, we have a book, a sponsorship book, and it talks about that when it talks about an inside job. And it talks about not looking for a sponsor based on what their material possessions are, or how many ladies you think they're betting at night, or what they had going on. We really look for people who are living a principled life. And for the newcomer, that was not attractive to me. I was like, I ain't trying to hear all of that. Y'all said y'all had gifts. I wanted some gifts. I wanted gifts that I could reach out and touch. I wanted gifts I could drive, and gifts I could live in, and gifts I could spend. And y'all were talking about spiritual. I was like, spiritual? Something wrong with them. And then I really thought y'all were kind of short bus, right? I come to a meeting and y'all said that y'all have this program and this program works. And you said there are a set of principles that if practiced, we can find this new way of life. And I saw these posters on the wall and they had principles, they had steps and they had traditions and they had concepts. And they said, if you work the 12 steps, your life will change. So I worked all 12 steps my first meeting. I mean, I'm an intelligent gal. I'm an educated Black woman. So I mean, it didn't take rocket science to read through 12 sentences and figure out, okay, I admitted my life was, I'm powerless over my addiction. My life is unmanageable. Well, the evidence was there. That's why I'm in rehab. I'm 30 days away from dropping a baby. I had a good government job. I had a good education, but I couldn't stop using drugs. It's obvious my life is unmanageable. And I went down the list, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I needed restoration. And I believed that there was a power out there somewhere. I didn't know what that power was or who that power was, but I know in that meeting that that power was there because I wasn't using in that hour. And then I went down to 3 and it says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us. And I went to 3 and it says that the God of my understanding. And I was like, okay, I had a problem there. Hold up, stop the brakes. First of all, I thought y'all were egotistical because don't nobody understand God. Why do y'all think y'all so smart that y'all understand God? I was like, I might understand him. I'm pretty intelligent, but y'all needed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to tell y'all how to live. And and then don't get to the just for the day. So an addict will come in 1, yeah, I did that 2, yeah, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna apologize to my mother. And you're like, no, 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 not that 1. That's 10. That's 9. You don't get to go to that. You have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was like, they're short bus. And then they have the just for the day. And they said, tell yourself. And somebody will say, self, just for the day, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Tell yourself. Somebody said, self. And I was like, holy moly. I done got dropped off on the short bus. But today they make the steps make total sense to me today. So that lady that I asked to sponsor me, she told me no. And I ended up with this little bitty white lady. She was about yay tall, and she chewed gum real hard. So and she was in California, but she had a southern accent. And she said, take the cotton out your goddamn ears and put it in your goddamn mouth. And I have to tell you guys, I'm working on the defect of profanity. So I'm up here trying to be on my best behavior. I done prayed, I done washed myself with holy water. And I blessed the water and I washed myself with it. And I said, God, take away my filthy tongue. So I'm gonna really try, because that's a defect I'm working on. You guys say all you had to do is try. But when that little bitty lady looked up at me and told me that and was spitting because she was chewing gum, so spit was flying out her mouth towards my face, I looked at her, I said, bitch, I will stomp you. Who are you talking to? I'm a 6-year ex-Marine and I'm a pretty large black woman. But what came out of my mouth was, yes, ma'am. And that's been my story. I've been very compliant in sponsorship. I'm not difficult to sponsor. My sponsor is Tyrone M. out of Chicago, Illinois. And he's been my sponsor since I was 12 years clean. So he's been my sponsor for 15 years. Now, there are some people in the fellowship that don't believe in different sex sponsorship, your belief is your belief. I just venture to ask you, who sponsored the first woman in the fellowship? Just figure it out. And you can come up to me and we can have a conversation about it later. So Narcotics Anonymous and this inside job. So the lady that sponsored me, she was poor. I was like, damn, how I end up with the poor one? I wanted the one with the money, with the diamonds, with the Cadillac and the maid. I just need to tell you guys that I kept coming back long enough that I ended up with a big house, with a Cadillac, with diamonds and a maid. Now hold up. That's not what the program promises. So don't get it twisted. Because I remember walking into my first home that was furnished like Better Homes and Gardens. I had 2 new cars in the garage. I had my son in preparatory school. I was working in middle management America. I was making great money. I had my own accounting practice. And I remember walking into my living room, and I remember it as clear as day. I had about 5 years clean, and I walked into my house. Everything was paid for. It was laid out. And I looked around and I asked myself, is this all there is? Is this it? Because I wasn't happy, joyous, or free. I don't know if there are anybody in here who's reached that stage in your recovery where you've gotten back some of the things that you gave to the disease of addiction. And if you stay clean long enough, you'll get back more than you gave away, but you still feel that void on the inside. How do you know you still have a spiritual void? You know you have a spiritual void when you continue to look outside of you for something that exists only on the inside. It can only be found on the inside. So it's not a car. It's not a great job. It's not that honey on your arm. It's not your children acting right. It's not even good physical health. It's that place inside of you that you know, that you know, that you know that you're okay. It doesn't matter what life throws at you, you're okay. Circumstances and conditions does not dictate your state of happiness. And well, there's a difference. There's a difference between happiness and joy. And that's why we say happy, joyous, and free. Because in order to get from happiness to joy, it's an elevation that has to happen in the spirit. Happiness is based on, I got a raise on my job. You know, my wife gave me some last night and it was real good. I'm happy. I'm skippy. You know, addicts have that fresh sex look on there when they come in a meeting. You can tell they just skippity doo dah, skippity day. You know, they happy because they got it and it was good. Or your children's acting right, right? something external will trigger an event of happiness. Well, if something external is going to dictate my emotional state, then when something bad happens externally or I view it as bad, then my emotional state is going to be affected in the opposite way. But joy is elusive for addicts because joy is not dependent on circumstances. Very few addicts get to experience joy. And the only reason we don't is because we don't know what it is. See, once you tell an addict what something is, and you tell them how they can get it, they go get it and come back with it. That's just how we are. When we started getting high, we didn't know how to get high. We didn't know how to cop. We didn't know how to get beat. We had sponsors out there. We had folks that say, come on, I'll show you how to fuck your life up. And we proceeded to do just that. And then I come in here in Narcotics Anonymous and I get a sponsor and they say, come on, I'm gonna show you how to unfuck your life. No more cussing, Cencilia, you got it? So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Joy can be found in one place. And the place that joy is found is in love. Now, The Living Clean, The Journey Continues is my favorite piece of literature. It says, as Narcotics Anonymous grows and our fellowship grows, our fellowship matures and our literature changes and it becomes more diverse to feed the growing population. It says that in the preface of the 6th tradition of the basic text, right? Something to that. My home group is Recovery at Work in Dallas, Texas, and we're known as the book thumpers. I don't know what a book thumper is. What I know is that our program is contained within the literature of Narcotics Anonymous. Our program, our literature is our language. So if you don't study the literature, you don't know the program. If you don't study the literature, you're not recovering with everything that the program has to offer. You're really taking the short bus route. Now, I know we're short bus. We are, because the literature says because of our drug use, we were sharply affected. Sharply affected means somewhat retarded. I mean, I've got more degrees than a thermostat. So when you tell me I'm retarded, I take offense. I'm like, I'm educated, But if you don't study the literature, you don't know the program. You're getting the program secondhand because it's a basic text, a textbook is meant to be studied. And I'm not here to tell you how to recover. I'm just here to share with you how I got to my happy, joyous, and free. So you get to do your own inside work. That's one thing about recovery. Recovery, you get to make your own choices. You get to, you're at Burger King, baby. You get to have it your way. If you want to practice necrophilia, what is necrophilia? When you're sleeping with dead things. Addicts love to sleep with dead things. I'm talking about dead relationships. And addicts always go to romantic first. Every mind almost in the room go to, yeah, I know somebody who is practicing necrophilia, or it might be you. Like, we don't know when to give up. We don't know how to practice things that are good for us. We don't, I might be in a job that I complain about every day, but I'm not looking for another job. What's wrong with that picture? I don't love myself enough. We still practice dereliction clean. We talk about them 11 thugs on page 20 of the basic text. They still jack us up clean. Let me tell you, old timers, sometimers, long timers, our addiction, our clean time becomes our disability. How can my clean time become a disability? My clean time becomes a disability when I think I have all the answers. When I think there's no new information that can be grafted onto this mind, because I have a magical magnifying mind that tells me I'm intelligent enough that I understand everything in the literature. I've read every book several times. So if you come up here and you say anything that does not agree with what is in my mind, I do not have an open mind to grasp onto a new idea that maybe, just maybe, there may be something different with that thought. Three of our greatest enemies: dishonesty, closed-mindedness, and unwillingness. That doesn't happen to the newcomer. That happens to the members with clean time. Dishonesty. So how am I, and a lot of times I was talking to this young lady in California, and she's in this 2-year interracial abusive relationship, and the guy is the one that has done everything wrong to her. She's not done anything wrong. Well, I've done something, she says. I said, well, why is it if he's already apologized and he's changing his behavior, you mad because he's working a 9-step and he hasn't made a 9-step amend to you? And he asks you, well, how many times do you want me to apologize? Well, she wants a formal 9-step. Well, no, one of the things with addicts is that we're very controlling. I said we. I have to talk to myself all the time. So love, how does love play into this? The Living Clean talks about the spirit in the room when we could see a member walk into a meeting and come to life. It says after coming to Narcotics Anonymous, we realized we were sick people. So this is a program that heals the sick and raises the dead. Now, I told you what the literature says first, so y'all gonna get twisted and think I'm trying to preach to y'all up here. I'm a recovering Catholic, Christian, Buddhist, and some more stuff. Today I get to have that third step God of my understanding. I understand God the way Narcotics Anonymous understands God today. Loving, caring, and greater than myself. And most importantly, greater than the disease of addiction. So we're talking about love, and how do you find love so you can find joy? Right? So you go through the first step. The second step, I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And I don't know for anybody else, when I did the second step and I thought about a power greater than myself, I went straight from me to God. There was nothing greater than me than God. Really, Cencilia? Is TXU Electric greater than you? Is your water department greater than you? My sponsor is a power greater than me. My employer is a power greater than me. There's a whole lot of powers that are greater than me. But as a recovering addict, the Narcotics Anonymous literature is a power greater than me. Have you been at home and you're tore up? You got stuff going on, mad stuff going on. You need to talk to somebody. And everybody you call didn't answer the phone. Or it's real late at night and you can't sleep. So now you really need some help. I encourage you to crack your basic text. Just crack it open. It says it in the basic text that it will restore you. The literature can restore you. So that's a power greater than yourself. So the inside job, and I'm looking for this love because that's the inside job. I've got to be able to love me. Instead, I'm looking for you to love me. Or I'm loving you more than I'm loving me. You know, addicts love to do a workshop, loving you and losing me. Well, baby, you ain't never been found. So one of the things that I work at today is I want to treat myself like I would treat a lover that I'm crazy about. Can you treat your lover the way you would treat somebody that you are in love with? Instead of pouring that out, and there's nothing wrong with pouring those affections onto your loved ones, but what happens is when we do that and they don't act the way we think they should act, it becomes a premeditated resentment. After all I've done for you. That's an addict refrain. You mean after all I've done for you, that you're gonna do blah, 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 blah? No, love yourself. It's really about an inside job. I wish somebody had told me that when I had 5 years clean. Because I really thought it had to be someone on the outside. And what I did to myself to protect myself, I weighed about 380 pounds. Because that's what I did to protect myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, you won't find me attractive. So what I did, I built a prison for myself and I moved into it. And at 12 years clean, my sponsor showed up and I realized I was a dead man walking with a beautiful home, with a beautiful career, with a son in preparatory school, with 2 new cars in the garage, with a fully furnished home. I had all the trappings of a successful life. But success does not live on the outside. That should just be a manifestation of what's already going on the inside. So let me read you something that I absolutely love in the Living Clean. It says love is a form of intelligence. Wow. They had to tell us that. Because you know we short bus, right? They said the spirit of love that we express in NA is the most beautiful thing we have. So then I asked myself, am I a good expression of Narcotics Anonymous? Am I a good expression of the program? And sometimes it's difficult to transmit something you don't have. So one of the things I learned as I did my step work and I did the 4th step and I did my list and I did my resentments and my fears and all of that. You know, I'm an ex-Marine. I told you I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years and my brother turned me on to my first hit of crack cocaine and that crashed and burned my military career. But imagine as a young woman being in the Marine Corps. I was looking for a few good men. I found them. And I had fun. I used to line them up in my mind, and then I used to look at their shoes. I had a shoe thing. If you don't wear good shoes, we ain't going on no date. But as I did the 4th step, I realized I had a resentment against the entire narcotics of the entire United States Marine Corps because of decisions that I made. I blame my brother for my addiction because how could you give me a hit of crack cocaine when you're a drug dealer and you know what those women look like that come and score? And he told me something like, well, I didn't hold a gun to your head. I hated my brother for years. And then I paid it forward and my brother died. He died a beggar on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. And my sister called me and told me they needed me to send money to bury him. And I'm telling you, at 25 years clean, I was not feeling that. And I called my sponsor. I still call my sponsor at least 2 or 3 times a week, if not more. Sponsorship is the heartbeat of the program. Try living without a heartbeat. And let me know how that works out for you. So I called my sponsor. I'm like, Spons, you won't believe it. My sister's lost her mind. She's calling me and asking me to help pay for the funeral for my brother who turned me on to crack cocaine and ruined my life. And my sponsor said, babe, that's how he talks. He said, babe, you're either a babe or a stupid motherfucker. And I try to stay on the babe side. And I get my feelings real hurt, especially if a man talks to me crazy. He said, I suggest you go on and pay for it so you can live in peace. That's sponsorship. Not so he can rest in peace. He said life is for the living. And I paid for my brother's funeral. And I got relief from that resentment. I got relief because forgiveness is sometimes a hard thing for addicts to do. And it's hard for us to forgive others because it's hard for us to forgive ourselves. All of the trials and the tribulations and the stresses that we go through life is because of how we feel about ourselves. It's not about the job. It's not about your husband. It's not about your children. It's not about your financial situation. It's about you and that power greater than you that you need to build that relationship with that happens from the minute you walk in the door. The minute you walk in the door, you begin, and you do not have to believe in God to recover. You can believe in good, orderly direction. You can believe that the program of Narcotics Anonymous is your higher power. The spiritual principles embodied in our 12 steps is a power greater than all of us. So, I do the fifth step, and I don't recommend, the literature says you could do a fifth step with anybody. But doing a fifth step with a total stranger is a punk way out. But they don't know your bullshit. They don't know the lies we tell ourselves about ourselves. But a sponsor that's walking with us and getting to know us, they can, because self-deception is hard to detect. I suffer from a disease that's difficult to diagnose, detect, and treat. And let me tell you, my disease, the literature says our disease continues to progress even during abstinence. So just because I'm clean does not mean the disease took a day off. The disease of addiction does not require PTO. It don't require no vacation time. It don't require no sick time. It don't require no time off. As a matter of fact, it's awake even when we are asleep. So I have to practice vigilance. The inside job, it talks about vigilance is an inside job. So I have to be vigilant. When I'm new in the program, I'm thinking vigilance. As a Marine in Korea, I went to South Korea, and there's something called the demilitarized zone. And it's that one line between North and South Korea. And the military, the US Armed Forces and Korea, they march that demilitarized zone 24 hours a day. They're vigilant because they're looking for somebody, anybody to bust a move, and we'll have World War III in our hands. Because there's a lot of things in life that go down that we have no clue about. And this is a totally outside random topic, like that power outage we had with our phones. Yeah, okay, you were doing an update. Okay, at AT&T, at Verizon, at T-Mobile, and Cricket. All iPhones, and some of them were up, but most of them were down. Okay. Treat me like a mushroom, keep me in the dark, and feed me bullshit. That's okay. So what I'm saying is, it's not that type of vigilance recovery. It talks about it in the traditions. It says I can look at it, the vigilance is that it can be something more compassionate, right? I have to be aware of my thoughts, my ideas, and my attitudes. Because recovery demands a change in all three areas. So in the journey continues, it says the basic text describes it as the flow of life energy from one person to another. And we see this in action when we watch an addict come back to life in the rooms. In order for you to come back to life, you had to be dead. We were spiritually dead, and Narcotics Anonymous brought us back to life. So while I'm on that journey, learning how to love myself, I have to get outside of myself and do something for somebody other than myself. So then you get to ask yourself, as I'm doing and I'm working on this inside job, am I still self-centered, self-seeking, and self-obsessed? Is it still just all about me? Or am I giving back what was so freely given? Sometimes people think like sharing for Narcotics Anonymous is some sort of a rival. Or it's I remember as a newcomer thinking, man, a banquet speaker, that's amazing, or main speaker, or even doing a workshop. Oh my God, I can't wait to get there. That's work. It's work to leave the comfort of your home and travel through airports, sling bags around, come to a place, hope that you can say something that makes sense. There's some stress attached to that. So I got to okay, God, you're in charge. Now I'm telling you, I'm going to have a conversation with him after this meeting. I'm going to say, I wasn't supposed to cuss at all. What happened? Because, I'm just a wretch. It says when we are practicing step 12 to the best of our ability, love becomes central in all that we do. There is no more powerful antidote to the despair and self-destruction of addiction. So I come to you as a servant in Narcotics Anonymous, and I come to you because I love the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. I come to you because I want to give back to this program what was freely given to me from an addict that used for an entire pregnancy, gave birth to a baby that had to stay in the hospital because he had to detox, to being homeless, and really the transitional living was my living condition, to being able to, grow in this fellowship, grow spiritually, grow materially, grow educationally, and grow in love. And most importantly, I learned, and I'm still learning to love myself. I'm learning to love myself. And let me tell you guys, that is the most challenging part of the journey. Because I don't know for you, but when I look in the mirror, I just could start taking apart parts of my humanity. And you stay clean for a while. It becomes painful. When you look at yourself and you criticize what God has created. It becomes painful. But it's a lifetime journey. There's no arrival date. You arrive when they throw dirt on your ass, Cencilia. So, it goes on to say, it says unity is a practice of love. Unity is a practice of love. So when I look at this group of recovering addicts, I see addicts of different nationalities. I see addicts of different races. And I'm gonna ask you, what does your unity look like in this region? What does your unity look like? And what your unity looks like is a depiction of your love for Narcotics Anonymous. Do you really love Narcotics Anonymous? Or do you love Narcotics Anonymous if it looks like you? Y'all don't have to invite me back. I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Like you guys like gave me love. You guys picked me up. I had a beautiful gentleman to pick me up. He had such a strange sense of humor. He had me laughing the whole way. Well, what's his name? Asa. He cracked me up. I remember we're driving down here and he said, well, I hope we get to QT before we run out of gas. And I looked at him and I'm like, I'm too old to push cars. I didn't push them when I was young. I said, well, I got AAA. He said, well, I got AAA too. I said, well, we good. And he said, he was driving a young fella's car that's in the program, and he was kind enough to give him his car because he said his truck is like 4 miles a gallon or 14 miles a gallon. The Toyota was 40 miles a gallon. I said, well, that's practical. If it's practical and spiritual, that he let you drive the car. And he said, there's a yellow light on. He said, I don't know how long that light's been on. But I loved Asa because what he told me is like, no matter what happens, we're gonna be all right. If the car ran out of gas, we'll call AAA, we'd get a tow to the QT. And the QT was like a mile down the road. So we made it to the QT. Love is exemplified. Tiffany came to my room this morning. She brought me like a bag of goodies. You guys asked me like, what is my favorite snack so y'all can make sure I have snacks in my room. I was like, man, that must be like some Southern hospitality shit. I ain't never had a convention ask me, what do I like to snack on? I said grapes and crackers. And she bought me grapes and crackers and bananas and oranges, you know, because addicts, you know, we love big. And then she made me a bunch of like cool gifts, right? And I was like, man, that's the love of the fellowship. That's the love of the fellowship. That's the love that we extend to each other. So I'm asking you, when it says unity is a practice of love, it says we rise above our judgments and come together no matter what. So there's some other no matter what's besides not using. Like unity is a no matter what. And then it goes on to say, in the process, we learn forgiveness and reconciliation. We don't always forgive before we start to work together again, but we are obliged to make peace because we cannot easily avoid one another. Forgiveness is an action and a decision. So, what does the unity of this region look like? Is this a unified region? And if it's not, then I have to ask myself as an individual, what can I do to make this happen? And because the burden lies on me, I can't look out there and say, well, they do that, they do that, they do that. No, recovery said I can no longer blame people, places, and things. I mean, the basics in recovery still applies today. So as I go through the step process and I go through my 6th and my 7th step and I get in touch with my defects, like my lack of forgiveness or my judgmental, the way I like to judge, and I get in touch with who I am and my humanity and my frailties, then it gives me grace for yours. So again, when I really sit in a place to where I can't get with people, or when I think about you, I start tearing you down, I've got to go back on the inside. It's never about you. It's always about me. Because when I do the work and I realize how short I come to God's best for me, and I know that I'm pedaling as hard and as fast as I can, I know that I'm doing my very best, even when I come up short. So can I believe that you are too?
You are too.
Can I believe that you are doing your very best when you come up short of my ideas of what your morals and values should be? So I go through the process and I do my 8-step list. And you know, the people I've harmed. And while I'm making this list, I don't get to think about the harm they've caused me. Again, I have to move myself out of the way. And then I have to make amends to them. And it doesn't matter what they did. And that was a conversation I had with that young lady this morning. Stop looking at what that young man did. And if you can't forgive him and you can't trust him, the relationship is doomed anyway. So you better go on the inside and do some work. If you really love, you say you really want the relationship to work, you have to work on yourself first. I have to work on myself first. So, you know, that's where the 10th step comes in for me, and I get to take a daily inventory. I have a 27-year-old, like I told you, with 8 months clean. That is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not.
But it's a lot better than a 27-year-old using. I remember that young man, he'd be flying on private jets. He'd be sending me pictures from Times Square where he's at the hotel. And he sends me a bag full of money. I don't know what he's doing and I don't want to know. But I pray that God keeps him. Because I know active addiction is a death sentence. It doesn't matter how glorifying it looks. It's a death sentence. But I have to keep my judgment out of the way. Now he comes to talk to me and he gives me like real graphic details about his sex life. I'm like, oh my God. That's too much information. But I listen because my son lives an alternative lifestyle. And so he can be very touchy because he's looking at me like, Mama, are you judging me because I'm gay? No, baby. I wouldn't care if you slept with goats. You're still my son. It don't matter what your choices you make. It's not for me to judge. Would I prefer my son to have a wife and 2.3 kids? Absolutely. But his journey is his journey. And I can't choose it for him. So I listen, like he sent me a picture of a new desk he bought, and there was something in his living room. I was like, what's that behind you? He said, oh, Mama, that's a sex swing. God. Why did I ask that question? He proceeded to explain to me what they do with it. Sometimes I talk to my son, I wish I could wash my ears. He's looking at me like, Mama, are you judging me? No, baby. I get to keep a poker face. It says some of us struggle to give ourselves permission to be happy. We may not think we deserve it, or we may fear that we will stop working on ourselves. Some of us have been unhappy for so long that it feels uncomfortable to let go of our bitterness. One of my best friends is like, she's bitter about all the bad choices and relationships, because it's their fault. I had a good friend of mine, and he said, Ricky D, he's got 30-something years, and he says, I don't know why old-timer women get mad when the guys go with the newcomers. He said, because they don't have that recovery fluff that we get. Because, when we out there using, we all fine as wine, even though we look like racehorses. I know I do. I look at my pictures in pregnancy and I was like, I look bad. But I thought I was fine. He said, well, they look pretty fine. They coming with the short skirts, and, older women in recovery is like, I don't know why she walk around with her ass out like that. But baby, if I look like her, I probably have on exactly what she has on. Let her make it. But if you want to give her some good advice, pull her to the side and lovingly tell her, you carry yourself as a lady in recovery so you don't get passed around and, be like an Arab store, the doors open and close all day long. Pull her to the side and talk to her lovingly and gently. But my friend said, well, the reason we choose newcomers is because they don't have all that recovery fluff, and they're not bitter bitches. Damn. So work on the bitterness. It's not attractive. It says when we treat happiness as a spiritual principle, we can see its relationship to humility. Happiness relates to humility. And so how is happiness related to humility? It's related to humility because I really have no power on what goes on in life. Some power I have, the choices I make, but some things just happen, like the phone's going out, it just happened. We didn't have no power over that. But how I dealt with it, I had power over that. And that's where the humility comes in. Go on Wi-Fi, call Messenger. My sister say, send me your itinerary on TikTok, on WhatsApp, not TikTok. God, that's a devil in disguise. And then it goes on to say, as we find the deep joy that comes to us through our practice of compassion, we find that happiness is much more available to us. A member said, I had to make a decision to be happy, but making that decision in a way that could really work meant having a foundation on which that happiness could rest. You gotta have a foundation, your foundation 1, 2, 3. And then you build on your foundation. I told that young lady this morning, you have a faulty third step. You don't trust God. You're looking at that man. He's your God. And if you're looking for him to deliver what you're looking for, it's unrealistic. He's not going to deliver. Go back to your third step. You got to have a good foundation. Otherwise, you're building a house on sand. You're building a house that's not going to stand. When problems arise, we hope to be well equipped with the tools of the program so we can survive. The 12 steps gives us the ability to survive the pain of living. Life is painful all by itself because people die. Divorces happen. Jobs are lost. Children die. Husbands die. Wives, mothers, fathers, friends. We have no control over it. But can I still have joy in the midst of it? It says we all bring hope and answers, sometimes even when we don't feel like it. So here's where I want to close with you guys. It says there's a saying in recovery that as we keep going, the road narrows. Some people think, after you've been here for a while and your clean time becomes your handicap, the disease takes your voice, and then you continue to live, you return to desperation. But now you're living in quiet desperation. And because we suffer from a disease that's difficult to detect, diagnose, and treat, and you have a lovely home, and you drive a nice car, and you have financial stability, people think you're okay. And you're dying. You're dying in front of us. And we can't help you because your clean time has disabled your voice. The disease has turned off your voice. It says that's partly true. Our willingness to make the same old mistake diminishes, and we know better than to act on our impulses most of the time. But that's not the end of the story. It's as if we pass through a funnel. The way gets tighter and more uncomfortable as we begin to adapt to our new way of life. And then without warning, it opens up and we are free. The road is no longer narrow. Sometimes it seems like there's no road at all. We get unleashed into our own lives. There is nothing like being unleashed into your own life. Like, I'm 65. I thought I was going to retire in December, and I had a dark night of the soul when I figured out I couldn't. And then I asked myself, why is it that I thought at 65 my life was supposed to end? I'm supposed to take myself out to pasture and just kind of live out the rest of my days. I don't know, making blankets or afghans or something. It says our first step places us on a path to awareness, connection, and serenity. We receive much more than simple abstinence. We have been given an endless supply of principles to guide us as we travel through our lives. In step 3, we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to a power greater than ourselves. And in step 11, it is returned to us transformed. So my step 3 has transformed to a step 11. And that's where I found my joy. I found my joy when I realized that I had this unshakable and unbreakable relationship with my Creator, the person that created me, that knew that I was going to be here from the beginning of time My Creator knew that I was going to be here at this time, at this hour. And my life was all designed around it. So why would I worry? Why would I fret when something does not go my way? Hindsight is always 20/20, right? So it says, where we lacked the power even to keep ourselves alive, now we take action into our lives and in service to others, and we are amazed at the results. We live with dignity, integrity, and grace, and we know we can always get better. We travel together as one in fellowship, and we pave the road as we walk it for all who may follow. No matter how far we have come or how far we know we have to go, when we live clean, the journey continues. So I'm a recovering addict. Any addict. Thank you for that.